Hello and welcome back to RamsTalkPodcast. We're live on YouTube and X, so if you are watching, get your comments in and we'll get them read out. Delighted to be joined tonight by two of my favourite people associated with Derby County Football Club. First of all, the audio viewers will be very happy to know is Callum Boocock. He's here. How you doing, Cal?
I'm all good, mate. All good. Bank holiday weekend. Can't be begrudging anything other than the result yesterday, but we move on. At least I'm not getting up for work tomorrow. So
Very true. Yeah, an extra day to get over the defeat. That's not too bad at all. And whenever we lose, there's only one man that I want to hear from, and that's Vic Singh. Vic, how are you, mate?
Not too bad. Yeah, just digesting the result, looking at the highlights and just looking back and see where the good positive points of the performance as well as the negative. So yeah, not too bad. We'll go over it as we talk this through.
Exactly. And I think that's what I think. It could be a lot worse. And we're going to talk a lot about some of the negatives, but also about the positives as well, because I think there are some. And there's definitely some improvements after the result against Blackburn on the first game of the season. So, Callum, coming to you first, going to talk about the big news that we all, I suppose, expected with the team announcement. Will it be Zetterstrom? Will it be Vickers? In the end, it was Zetterstrom because of an injury to Josh Vickers. Were you surprised to see Zetterstrom in the number one position, or what was your thoughts kind of going into the game? Because you weren't with us last week.
yeah, it's a weird one. I mean, I said to you boys in the chat and in our general chat within the podcast that the only thing that I wanted Zetterstrom, like personally. I think at the end of the day, if you're going to spend money on a goalkeeper, and it's probably been a long time coming that we have, because I think it's a really key position to nail down for a few years. If you find a good one on a free transfer, then let's do it. But if we're going to spend money after going and scouting someone, especially from abroad, then I think we've got to put full faith into that recruitment and start them once they're ready and equipped. The fact that he came onto the bench straight away for Middlesbrough and then obviously was in line for a start. It was just a case of whether Paul Warne was going to be not faithful to Vickers, but faithful into someone who's just had a really good game. At the end of the day, Vickers did have a good game. He was solid. He didn't do anything special or anything like that, but he was solid. So the only way he was going to be kept in was just if Paul Warne kept the faith in someone who's had a good performance. Does it send a message to the squad that even though if you had a good performance, if someone comes in and gets purchased, could they come in? It may do. I mean, that's probably the only thing that's been going on social media through all the Derby fans was that argument. But at the end of the day, Zetterstrom came in. Looked really good in parts, a bit shaky in others, but at the end of the day, it's game one. He's going to grow into it. He's only 26 years old. He's the same age as me, which is actually terrifying. And he's, but I mean, there's things that are exciting about him, and I'm excited to see where he goes.
A debut for any player, Vic, is tough, isn't it? You know, it doesn't matter if you're a forward, a midfield player, even at the age of 26. But being a goalkeeper, you know, change of country, a change of tactics, your first game outside of your boyhood club in those years, it is going to be nervy. I think for the most part, he dealt quite well. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, looking back at the game, truth be told, I don't think he had too much to do. There wasn't that many saves he had to make. He commanded his area really well. I thought his kicking was pretty good for the majority, albeit there might have been one sort of shaky moment. But again, like Callum said, it was game one. It's his debut. It's gonna take him some time to bed in. But I thought overall I was quite impressed with him. He's got that very massive stature, so it's going to be very intimidating for opposition teams. But didn't have a lot to do, admittedly. I thought Watford, for all the possession they had, didn't really. I think we restricted them to pot shots again, pretty similar to Middlesbrough. Obviously, yeah, they got their 2 goals. Again, probably from a bit of luck, in my opinion, and excellent finishes. But yeah, I thought Zetterstrom had a very decent debut. Like I said, it's difficult to come in and sort of just got smack bang into a championship season. So did well for himself. He's only going to get better. So yeah, the signs are positive with Zetterstrom, and long may his good form continue.
Hey.
When we lose, I always wonder if you're going to say "Long may it continue," and I was worried about that tonight. But I'm glad you've said it, Vic. Cal, it couldn't have got off to a better start, could it? A couple of minutes in, the ball finds its way to Ebo Adams. I mean, the ball back was absolutely splendid from Jackson, and we'll talk about his involvement a bit later on. But I mean, that is some finish, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very difficult to keep a volley under control. And from someone who's kind of mastered volleys in Ebo Adams in his small time at Derby, he's scored 2 now, and both have been quality finishes. 2 very different ones. One's with a bit more power. One's with a bit more finesse. I mean, he side-footed it, put it where he wanted it, and just redirected the pace of the ball, which... from a central midfielder who's just known for ball winning and tenacity and stuff like that, he's proving that he can have a good finish on him. And I think it was the manner of the goal, like I said, how quick it was, how quick we came out the blocks. We're always onto the team that they start slowly. And what I've found this season is that we do start a little bit better than we have done in previously, other than probably Blackburn, and that was probably just first game jitters. So yeah, I think Ebo Adams is proving that he can be quite a marksman, and he's probably up there with now one of the best finishers in the squad if we're going that end at the end of the stick.
Yeah, and that's his weak foot as well. I'm always impressed with players that are able to find that much control and finesse with their weak foot, because, I mean, if it was any of us, that had been in row Z with the Watford fans. So, yeah, really impressive start. And obviously mentioned Kaden Jackson, Vic. Obviously scored against Borough and then gets an assist. A really well-worked goal down the right-hand side. And we played some good stuff. You know, we're not going to sit here and say that we didn't play good stuff. Obviously, we didn't have much of the ball, but at times when we had it, we used the ball quite well. How impressive have you been with Kaden Jackson this season? Because I think he came into the team and a lot of people thought, sat on the bench for Ipswich. He's gone up as a champion, but what has he really achieved in the last couple of seasons? But he seems to be getting his head down, working hard, and he's getting some results.
Well, yeah, I think with Kaden Jackson, I think a lot of fans sort of writ him off before he'd even signed on the dotted line, but he's been a bit of an unsung hero for me. I think he's worked really hard on that wing. He was a menace again yesterday against Watford. I think most of the attacks that when we did attack, it was all coming from that right-hand side, and it's his sheer pace, puts fear into the fullbacks. He can use it well. He's played up front. He's played on the right. He's looked decent every time he's sort of been on the pitch and put a Derby shirt on. He's put a performance in, and I think that's what Paul Vaughan said when we first signed him, was the fact that when we signed Jackson, he's going to be a player that works hard, but he's also going to be a Paul Vaughan type player, a very direct run at defence sort of player, and he's really done really well for, in my opinion. It's hard to sort of look at. I mean, I was thinking about this earlier. If I was to change formation, who would I drop? He would be one of the players I think I'd keep in, just purely because out of the ones that we've signed, he's the one that showed the most promise. For me, he's done really well to start off the season, and I think he'll continue that. He's doing a role for us, but he's excelling in that role, and I think he's probably exceeding a lot of fans' expectations. So hopefully, he can keep up his good form too.
Adam's shout for him being top goal scorer might not be as ridiculous as it once seemed. So he's in the comments on YouTube. I've seen. Let's have a look at the YouTube comments. So Alex Derbyshire says we'll be fine up the Rams. We expected to get thrashed. I mean, I think I had more confidence going into the Watford game than the Borough game. I just think Borough might have put us to the sword a little bit after the Blackburn game. But yeah, I think that's important to mention, Callum. We're not getting battered. You know, we score, we go into this low block, we get, I suppose, a 5-4-1 formation when we've not got the ball. And for 25 minutes, as we said, Zeta Strong didn't do anything. You know, they result to either kicking it long, forcing a pass, taking a pot shot from distance. So for 25 minutes, we looked pretty good, didn't we?
Yeah, me and you were chatting about just before we went live. At the end of the day, we're set up to concede possession, and anyone who doesn't watch the game or hasn't been to any of the games this season will probably look at it and go, "Oh my days! Like we are getting absolutely trounced in terms of possession, in terms of stats, everything." But that's purposely done by Paul Warne and his team. We are setting up to concede possession to teams and catch them in transition and catch them on the counter with pace, with what we've got up top. And when you watch the game, as you say, Watford didn't, like you say, create loads of chances and open us up. And we're kind of sat there going, it's a matter of when. At the end of the day, we went 1-0 up really early and then just sat on that. And if we could catch them on the counter again, we could. They're a team that like having possession, same as Middlesbrough. They like having possession. We let them have it. As long as it's not in an area that's going to cause us issues, then we'll let them have it. It's the same with if you play on a Sunday league pitch. As long as it's not going to hurt you, let them have it by the keeper, let them have it with the centre halves, passing it sideways until it gets to your 18-yard box. That's when you're going to engage it. The only thing that you probably say is that we probably sat off a little bit too deep at times. What I don't like is that we've got almost 4 banks of 4 within the penalty area. I think that's probably too low. I'll probably want it a little bit higher. Want probably Yates, probably further than the D in our half at the halfway line. At times, me and you said, Jamie, that Ozo and Ibu were almost creating a 6 at the back. So that's too deep. So there's things to learn. At the end of the day, we're going to be seeing a lot of this. I think that's the thing. We're not going to be trying to dominate the ball. That's just not Paul Warne. That's just not this Derby County team. So I think as long as fans understand that, and at the end of the day, the team are going to be doing this a lot. It's going to work against certain teams. It won't work against others. I think we're going to see a lot of wins and a lot of losses. I think it's going to be win-loss this season.
Yeah, exactly. And like we said before we came on live, it's a case of if we take one of the chances we had at the end, we come away with a point, and suddenly you look at 3 games, 4 points, and you're looking up rather than down, aren't you? I think,
you are.
Personally. So like I said before, there's a lot of positives to take. Vic, one person I've been really impressed with, and I think it's more because of what I thought about this player last season to now what I think about him this season, is Callum Elder. I don't think he's been amazing going forward, apart from that one ball that he played into the corridor of uncertainty against Blackburn. But he looks really solid. He looks like he's stepped up. He looks fit. He's becoming a bit reliable at that left back position in my eyes. What have you made of him, and how do you think he performed against Watford?
I thought against Watford he was pretty decent. If we look at the overall season so far, I think with Callum Elder, he's sort of had a point to prove. I think last season, I think he knew he wasn't up to the standard he could have been. I think Paul Warne let him know that as well. But this year, he's sort of come back as a refreshed player. He looks sharp. He's made that left back position his own. Admittedly, it could be because there's no competition at the minute for it. I mean, we can't really rely on sort of Fozzie to sort of jump in and play 3 games a week at the moment. So we know that Elder has to perform to keep it. Admittedly, there is no competition, but like we said, as long as you give them the shirt and they can, you're giving them the opportunity to perform and they're doing it, it's very hard to drop them. So Elder's sort of impressed me as well. Actually, I think he's come back. He's looked sharp. And probably been a player that we never expected probably to see in a Derby shirt again, in my opinion. I thought maybe we might have sold him in the summer. But he's come back and proved a lot of doubters wrong. And hopefully he can keep playing the way he is. And hopefully if we can maybe look at if Nyambe does continue to play in that right back and we shape to a back 3 when we're attacking, if we attack, when it comes to attacking the games. But he could be, he'll give him the onus to sort of push forward more, maybe put some of those crosses in, because I think he started taking a lot more free kicks and corners now. I noticed yesterday he took a couple of free kicks and in pretty dangerous positions as well. So he's done really well. Hopefully he can keep that up. But I would like to see some competition just to give him that little bit of a push.
Yeah, agreed. And I think potentially that's what we've got to do before the end of the month is bring in some cover or some competition for that left back spot. So we'll get onto that a little bit later. Got to talk about their goal. their first goal. What a goal, by the way.
It was a good goal.
It was a good goal. Yeah, it was a good goal. I don't think a player should be able to have a bicycle kick in the box. You shouldn't be able to give them that much space. We talked about it whilst we were waiting for Vic. Bradley just kind of loses him. He doesn't know where he is. And it's really good forward play, actually, because he starts on one shoulder, goes to the other, and his movement is excellent. But Bradley's just not aware of where he is. The ball is not closed down because, again, we're standing off a little bit in that position. And look, they tried that a couple of times. It didn't work, but this one was pretty pinpoint. And I mean, to even attempt to do something like that is pretty special. But the fact that he got the execution on it was a really good goal. And we talk about Zetterstrom, can't do anything about that. Unfortunately, I don't think any keeper in the Prem would save that shot. But yes, some goal, Callum, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think all three of us are of the same opinion. Probably a lot of people in the comments and sat at home. At the end of the day, the finish is what it is. It's a great finish when he's got the opportunity to do that. But should he have the opportunity in the first place? In my opinion, no. I think if Bradley was going to look at that again, Paul Warne and the team, when they analyse the goals and how we can improve, when you're doing such a low block as what we are, you should not lose a man on the penalty spot and be done by an over-the-top ball. No matter how good the movement is, you should always have that striker in front of you, and you should never have that striker peel off the back of you and manage to bicycle kick it into the far corner. So, yes, it's a great finish. It's the same as Ibu's is a great finish, but it wasn't well worked. It was a punt into the 18-yard box, and he's just done it first time. And it's going to be an annoying one to watch back. And that's the theme of this game. I think that both goals were preventable, or at least unlucky in certain aspects. So we don't need to go into them too much. I think at the end of the day, we've just got to move on and just learn from it.
Yeah, and I guess frustrating to concede in that way, Vic, when we've defended so resolutely for that amount of time and kept them to, like I said before, pot shots and forcing passes to kind of be pegged back in that way is a little bit unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes down to the style of play, and if we're going to play a low block, it requires 120% concentration levels from all the centre backs and all your defence. So it was just a lapse of concentration. I think if for me, if I was to be very critical, I think Bradley just needs to hold his position. I think because he does that little twirl, sort of gets lost looking over his shoulder. That's what it plays. Was it Bayo onside?
Yeah,
it's that great. I mean, take nothing away from the lad. It's a brilliant finish. You could have put two keepers in that one to stop it. I just think if Bradley was just to hold his position for that split second, we could have played him offside. But again, like you said, it was one of those games where it was just the luck sort of seemed to be on their side in terms of that final third. They got the rub of the green. We got it the week before. It's the Championship. This sort of thing happens all the time. But yeah, like I said, the goal could have been avoided. Great finish. You sort of just move on from it. And just if Bradley's to look at that, he'll probably say himself in his review that, if I just held my position or just was more aware of where Bale was, I could have just played him offside and we're still 1-0 up and potentially could have gone 2-0 up with the Adams chance pretty soon after that. So, yeah, it's all swings and roundabouts, but, it's the Championship. Things will get better. There's positives to take from the game, weren't there? So.
Yeah, exactly. There are positives, and I think defensively, for the most part, we look pretty good. And there was a bit of fortune for both those goals, like Callum said. Cal, obviously, we had the incident in the tunnel, not in the tunnel, in the dugout.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, it was actually Richie Barker going down the tunnel. That's how it ended, but just seemed a bit peculiar because I was watching it and I thought, look, I can kind of understand all of that action if it's a red card that was a yellow card, or it was a penalty decision or a handball or something that was game changing almost. The fact of the matter was it was a throw in the center of the pitch, and there was a bit of a fracas with Elder and one of their players, but it just kind of blew up. I just didn't understand it. What did you make of it?
It's just football, isn't it? I mean, what causes all that over a throw-in? I mean, I think when you look at it and you go, the only thing that probably stemmed it was the referees didn't make a decision there and then. They both had the lino had his flag down, the referee had his arm down. Unless they shouted it to everyone and everyone kind of knew whose it was. Everyone kind of stood there in the stadium and watching it from home and going, which way is it? Derby presumed it was Derby's, so hence why when Watford were trying to steal the ball back off them, they were like getting annoyed. The trouble is, you don't like to speculate because someone's heard something. Barker's then obviously got a straight red card. He hasn't got a yellow. You see him at the moment, a lot of referees are giving away the yellows. Bournemouth had one today and against Newcastle. And the fact he's got a straight red is a bit perplexing because he must have said something that someone's heard that someone's not really happy with. And the trouble is that now we're down something from realistically our throw-in, which is what it all started with. So now we're down a coach going into the next game. So I think that at the end of the day, everyone's in the heat at the moment over something minor. And if they probably look back at it, do you need to get involved? Probably not. I mean, come on. But it was probably building up because I thought that the officials weren't the best, in my opinion. But I think they were just getting frustrated. But I think it's not the first time that this trio or quartet in Paul Warne and his team have got the emotions the best of them. But I mean, would you rather have that and then support the boys than just sit there and do nothing? So it's kind of swing and roundabouts, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't watch the game. I rewatched it today because I was out and about yesterday, and I went on live score and saw red card for Derby County, and I thought, oh no! And then it said Richie Barker, and I went, yeah, okay, you take that. To be fair,
yeah,
Vicky, it was a little bit confusing. I think Richie Barker seemed a little bit confused and asked what he was what he supposedly have said or had done, I guess. Do you think that? I mean, this is a bit of a reach, but do you think that affects anything? You know, you lose someone like Richie Barker from your technical area. Do you think that kind of affects the lads on the pitch?
Again, it depends on what sort of point of view you look at it. If you look at it from a sort of coach's perspective, you think when you look at one of your fellow coaches getting sent off for something that, like Callum said, is quite minor, you sort of think you're meant to be leading by example to the players on the pitch. So in that sense, maybe. Generally speaking, probably not. I don't think. I mean, we do see Richie probably on the edge of the touchline more than we do Paul. However, I don't think it'll make much difference. If anything, he might just showed a bit too much passion and got the red card. So, in a typical Richie Barker fashion, he's got himself sent off. But I think with assistant coaches, it's like a 2-day training ban and a 1-day match ban, something like that. I don't think it'll be gone for long. So it's very minor. I mean, we've got the international break coming up anyway, so I don't think we'll miss him too much. But yeah, I don't think it'll have much of a difference. I just think if you're going to lead by example and try and set the example for your players. Obviously, something's happened there that we're not sure of. But like Callum said earlier, something similar happened in the Bournemouth-Newcastle game. And I mean, if I was the assistant coach of that Bournemouth game, I think I'd have got sent off for what happened at the end of it. So. Yeah. So it happens. It's football. It's the passion and the heat of the moment that you get lost in. But yeah, I don't think it made much difference going into Barrow and Bristol City on Saturday.
He's probably happy he's not going Barrow, to be honest.
Yeah,
if it does come into that one.
Yeah, he might have been doing it on purpose, so he doesn't have to travel up to Barrow. Credit to any fan that's going there, by the way.
Yeah,
you are
massively.
You are the real fans if you're going up to Barrow away. Well, Paul Warne will be happy because I sat behind the tunnel and the dugouts for the Middlesbrough game, and the amount of times the fourth official warned both of them for being in the 6-yard box, it was ridiculous. Like literally every time, turning around saying, "Look, only one of you can be in here," and Warne would then run out and you get a warning. So. Yeah, maybe it was persistent fouling across last season and this season in the technical area. But yeah, I don't think we're going to miss him. And I think Warrington got a ban at some point last season, didn't he? As well?
Yeah, Bristol Rovers.
So it's only Warne next, and then we'll have Rami in the dugout shouting orders. Obviously, we got to half time. We did have that other chance as well to mention where Adams could have slipped through Mendes-Lang. Cal, we were talking about Mendes-Lang before we came on live. You were kind of saying, have we seen enough from him? Has he kind of stepped up? I think at times, potentially, but are we seeing the best of Mendes-Lang at the moment?
It's a tough one. I think at the end of the day, the way we're playing, you're limited to what you see, and he's limited to the options and the balls he's been given. At the end of the day, we're not dealing with a lot of possession. It's quick transition. So unless the ball is pinpoint, which if you think about it, there was 3 or 4 balls, and we all said this in our group chat, 3 or 4 passes that come off in that game yesterday, and we are through with 2 or 3 on the counter attack. And it's just a very good cutout that stopped that. And yes, Nathaniel Mendes-Lang this season, I think Kaden Jackson's done slightly better, but I think both of them give the same option. Raw speed, really good with their feet. And we got a lot of corners from Nathaniel Mendes-Lang's persistence yesterday, which obviously gives us a set piece opportunity. He's doing nothing wrong. He's just, you probably just want a little bit more out of him, but he can only really deal with the amount of football he's been getting. And unfortunately, because of the way we're playing, he's having to defend most of the time. So, or at least take on 3 or 4 players on his one wing, and the Kaden Jackson's the same. So I think at the end of the day, we just got to kind of give hats off to whatever he's producing at the moment, and hopefully we can get him the ball a bit more, and 1-on-1 rather than 3-on-1. So
I think just to add to that as well, though, like with Mendes-Lang, he's playing on the left because we're having to put Jackson on the right. So if you play Mendes on his natural side, you probably will get a better output out of him, but then it just takes away Jackson's good what Jackson's basically producing. So you're sort of having to shoehorn Mendes-Lang in that left wing role. So he's trying his best. I think again, it all depends on the sort of system and how we want to play. To get the best out of the players, we need to put them in their favoured positions. The unfortunate thing is we've got Jackson who's on form and Mendes-Lang who's our captain now, who are both right wingers, and nobody ready to play on the left. I think you got Barkey, who's, I don't know if he was on the bench or if he was injured. Blackett Taylor's injured and sort of disappeared off the face of the earth. I haven't heard from him for a while. So we're struggling. Well, it feels like it, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean, unfortunately for him, it's because he's had to play on the left. I think we're not getting the best out of him. He's sort of playing that inverted winger role, isn't he? He's having to cut back inside and work twice as hard. But like we said, we know the qualities there with Mendes-Lang. It'll just take a couple of games for him to show again.
And that's what a captain's got to do sometimes. He's got to work for the team. So, yeah.
Is he the captain? I don't know. Has it been announced?
Well, who knows? Who knows? We had that announcement last season, didn't we? And then nothing's kind of been said this season. So, yeah, who knows? We'll see if he keeps the band over the course of the coming months. Just looking at YouTube, Chris Frozen says, I agree with Callum. Those balls should be seen as chances created because we are getting into these positions in transition. AP UK DCFC says, hi guys, I think Jackson has been a really good addition to the squad. Adam's goal was great, but we really need to sort out defence with a better CD alongside Nelson. We also need another creative midfielder. Well, Warren has alluded to a couple of players coming in, one potentially before the Barrow game. So we'll have to see what happens next week. We'll get onto that in just a little bit. Jim's in the comments as well as ever. Good to see him in there. When CBT back? Unfortunately, we don't know, Jim. Maybe this side of Christmas, we'll have to see. Vic, we saw Jerry Yates, his competitive debut for Derby. I don't think I've ever felt as sorry for a Derby County player as I did for him yesterday, because that is a tough old task. You're up front on your own. You're feeding off scraps. You're trying to occupy a couple of defenders. We might not see the best of Jerry Yates until we can get someone that's capable of getting close to him and helping him out. But he has got that energy. He works hard. Warren said earlier in the week that he's become quite a key member in the squad already. He's fitting really well. What did you make of his performance? Are you just going to echo what I said there, or are you going to add any wisdom?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think it was difficult for him to sort of really have the impact that he'd like to have. I know we've seen him in pre-season and we've talked about his sort of off the ball movement as being much higher than what we've already got at the club. again, when you look, it all comes back down to the system that we're playing. I think it's really difficult for a striker. You could put Mbappe in that role, and I think he'd struggle. Just because we're not getting those balls forward quick enough. There was a couple of opportunities where Yates did make the run. I just don't think there was anybody on his wavelength to sort of put that ball through. I think maybe there was a couple of players that did try it, or when they did try it, it was offside anyway. It's going to take time. Jerry Yates' first game. He's just playing competitive football after the 3-match ban. Again, the players are all new. They're still gelling together. I've said, like I said from the beginning, give it to the international break. We'll probably kick on from there. It'll give the lads 2 weeks to really work hard on what they want to work hard on, and then by the time the Cardiff game comes along, we could start seeing the fruits of the labour. So it was a difficult first game for Yates. I thought there was a few off the ball movements that he made that were really well. I thought he put himself about. He's got a bit of pace about him, so it's nice to see that we've got a different option up there. Again, just comes down to the style of play and sort of the formation that we're playing. Maybe if he has someone up there with him, maybe a second striker that he could maybe run off, it might work better for him. But again, I'm not the manager, Paul Warren is, so we'll see what he goes with. But I've got high hopes for Jerry Yates. I think he'll have a good season with us this year, and he showed some promising signs already. I think he'll only get better from here as the games go on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him at home next week. Hopefully, he starts against Bristol City, because I think potentially we'll take the game a little bit more to Bristol City at home. Callum, how important is Pride Park to us staying in this division? It feels to me like if we are going to stay in this division, the performances at Pride Park are going to be the ones that keep us up.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that the home crowd has been immense, as per usual. I think the atmosphere has been great, and I think it just needs to continue home and away. It was great yesterday, and we just need to take that into every single home game and make sure that's persistent, even if games are on Tuesday nights, even if the games are not boring, but you're watching the team and they're not maybe being attacking and the old ways that we used to see over the past 5 to 7 years. But you got to look at it and go, this team just needs us behind them, because they're going to have their backs against the wall a lot this season. And I think Saturday will be no different against Bristol City. They worry me more than Middlesbrough, so in the way they're playing. So I think we've just got to make sure that every home game this year we're behind them. And I think you're right. I think Jerry Yates is a player that thrives off confidence, and as what we need to do is give him the confidence. And I think when he's shown in certain pockets a very good link-up play, I was just saying with you two before we went live that he just seems so isolated, and I'll just need the wingers not to be so wide and just give him a bit of assistance. Or one of the central midfielders needs to go in right behind him. Maybe Osborne coming back might help that. I thought Osborne was a big miss. So, yeah, I think Pride Park will be a really big fortress for us this season.
Yeah, and of course, welcoming back Max Bird and Jason Knight on Saturday. That's going to be...
Get him gone. Get him gone.
Yeah, that's going to be someday. The preview is coming out. I'm doing that tomorrow, so check that out. That'll be out over the next couple of days. Vic, obviously have to talk transfers, because the transfer window is slamming shut next week. Paul Warren obviously said that he wanted a number. We've not got near that number. Obviously, there's a lot of things that happen around this time of year in terms of clubs saying, okay, we can let this player go, we can let that player go. So things start to move, the chains start to move. Are you expecting us to be busy this week?
I think we have to be. I think we're probably about 3 or 4 players short from what we need to be competitive and need to sort of establish ourselves as one as a team that survives, but 2 a mid-table team. I think 3 or 4 additions in key areas. So you're looking at probably your left back, your centre mid, another number 9, possibly another centre back if we can get 4 through the door. For me, I think if we can get at least 3 of the 4 in, we should be okay. I think Paul said he's looking at maybe bringing that midfield loan in by Barrow, and then another 2 before Bristol City comes along. So, yeah, I think we'll have a busy week. I think we'll need to be busy, just because I think, especially with injuries in our squad as well, we're looking a bit light. I think we only had 8 subs yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's the management team making a point that we need to bring players in, or if that's just generally the case. But I think we'll have a busy week ahead. We need to bring the players in. Let's get this squad in as soon as possible. Get them working over the international break. Let's get a settled side in. Get some players back from injury. Hopefully, we can start seeing an upturn in fortunes. But yeah, I think Paul's going to have a very, very busy week.
International break. No, no.
He'll be on lots of Zoom calls, lots of calls with parents and grandmothers, and I imagine he goes the full 9 yards, does Paul Warne, to try and get people into the club. Callum, we saw yesterday a certain Tyrese John Jules was in the crowd. Would you gamble?
No, he can stay in the crowd. Keep him there. He's not going back on the pitch. I'm sorry. He's had his time. Really liked the little bits we had with him. I mean, Port Vale away. Love the memory. Let's keep it as a memory. Unfortunately for me, he is not the player we need. We need Championship proven, or at least Premier League quality that is unproven, not unproven League One quality, in my opinion. And that's not against him as a guy. He was great with us in his small pockets, but I don't want to take a risk on an injury record. We've done it too much. I don't want to do it in the Championship. I think that we're in a better place to go and actually look at targets rather than taking punts on players who are trying to basically get their career back on track. And that's harsh to say again for a young lad, but I don't want to be that club for him. I want someone who can really rival what we've got in the building, and I don't think John Jules is that.
Do you agree, Vic?
Yeah, I think for me it's the injury record. I think John Jules is a player that's got bags and bags of potential if he could stay fit. And I don't think we're really in a position, especially when we cried out for a new number 9, to sort of put all that pressure on John Jules, whose injury record is probably worse than mine, if I'm honest. So yeah, I wouldn't take that gamble. If we were to sign him, it shows signs of desperation. And I just think as a club, I think we can attract a centre forward who can at least play 35, 40 games, whether that's off the bench or as a starter. I don't think John Jules is that type of player. Again, once the window shuts, free agent market, you can still sign him. So if we're really, really desperate, then that's an option. But for me, I wouldn't give him a contract. I just don't see the point with that injury record. And
with regards to striker, Callum, if you were going to cut, I mean, obviously we're going to keep it realistic. We're not going to say, they need to have the speed of Mbappe and the heading ability of Ronaldo. But if you were to carve a striker that's going to help this team, what would that striker look like?
Martin Waghorn.
That's too realistic.
That's too realistic. Yeah. No, I would go. To be fair, any of that PFA group that you probably just go to pick of any of them. They're all over social media. But no, being serious for a second. A striker. The one we've got and the group we've got is all about counter-attacking and all about working on the transition. Yates is perfect for that, but I think he works better in a 2. I think the team that we spoke to at Swansea when we first signed him said he is better in a 2 rather than a number 9. He's more of a 10 along with a 9. So I would want someone who's tall, strong, fit, probably like with it late 20s, proven in the Championship, or at least if they're in the Premier League, strong in stature. Jebison was probably the one for me that I really, really wanted, but I don't know if Watford have managed to get his signature. He came off the bench for Bournemouth today, and so I don't know if that's fallen through. If we could get Jebison on loan, that would be my ideal young Premier League talent. If not, you're probably looking at, I hate to say it because he's been linked with us all the time, Michael Smith from Sheffield Wednesday, but I think we're in the fight with them to stay up. So I don't see them giving us one of their strikers again to a rival. So, but in terms of what we want, in terms of in the physicality, I think that's what we need in terms of a number 9.
Vic, do you see anybody going out the door?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a couple of probably fringe players that will go out. I think if we do bring another centre forward in, I think Dijon Brown's gone. Go on loan. I've heard Notts County are sniffing, and I think that's probably a really good loan move for him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not too far, League Two level, so that'll be a good experience for him. I just got the sneaky feeling Tom Barkhausen's going as well. I just think that I don't know if
Don't be
there's
shocked.
something that. Yeah, so I mean, I just think that there's something there that maybe suggests he might be moving on if we can bring more bodies in. But even going back to what Callum was saying about a striker, I think one player that I was quite gutted we didn't sign last year that seems to be doing all right this year is Mark Harris at Oxford. I think had we got somebody like him in as a focal point, I think we would have been all right this year. I think he's got everything we sort of need in a striker, especially at championship level. So it's unfortunate we can't get a player like him in, but I do think we'll see a couple go before we make all three of these signings that Paul Warne's alluded to.
Yeah, Harris won the Puskas Award at the weekend as well with that volley. Had no right to shoot from there. If you thought Abu Adams' goal was good, then go have a look at the goal that Harris scored for Oxford, because that was some hit. 2 games to preview, Cal. Obviously, starting up with Barrow away. Like I said before, and I'm going to say it again, anyone that's going there, I tip my hat. It's
it ain't us three.
No, it's not us three. Is anyone going from the Rams Talk Collective?
I don't know if Adam's parents, maybe. I don't know.
Can we claim that? Can we claim that?
Yeah, we'll claim that, because if they take the flag, then we'll claim it.
Yeah. We can claim it. But yeah, Barrow, obviously, midweek, and then we've got Bristol City coming to Pride Park on Saturday. Cal, first up, give me your predictions for both games and goal scorers if you've got any.
So Barrow, I see Paul Warne changing it in terms of the lineup. I think it's an opportunity for the likes of Thompson to get a start, Barkhuizen probably if he's not already out the door, and a couple of others. So I would go with a 2-0 win against Barrow, and I will go James Collins, and I'll go Nyambe if he hasn't taken him out the side. Let's get Nyambe a goal. Bristol, I'm terrified. I'm not going to lie. I really like the way Bristol are playing. They've started the season well. Max Bird has slotted into there like a duck to water, which terrifies me again, because it's going to happen. He's going to score, or at least it's going to be one of the two of them in it. So I'll go a hopeful 1-1. I did that for Middlesbrough and we won. So I'll go for a hopeful 1-1, and I'll go Mendes-Lang to score.
Did you use that pun on purpose? Because you said a duck to water about Max Bird, and I thought that was pretty good. If that was on purpose,
I'll take it. It's like my audio viewers really thing, isn't it?
Yeah. No, the audio viewers, that's going to come out every time I host one of these podcasts. So you know your introduction next time. Vic, how about you?
I think against Barrow, it's the furthest away ground you could possibly think of. It's up north. It's going to be cold. We'll win 2-1 after about 6 changes. We'll go with Brand to open his goal scoring account before he moves out on loan, and then we'll go with the Bradley header to seal the deal. And then Bristol City, one thing I noticed about Bristol City, as good as they are going forward, they are quite open at the back, and I think that might allow us to have a more of a sort of open game on Saturday. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I just think that there's going to be goals galore on Saturday, and for us, I think Mendes-Lang will open his account. And I think Jerry Yates will get a goal at Pride Park as well to get his good form up and running. So, yeah, a 2-2 draw on Saturday will do for me.
Jamie?
Lucky Desmond. Yeah, put me on the spot. I was going to go and give you Jim's prediction first while I was still thinking about my results and my goal scorers. So Jim's gone 3-2, Yates, Jackson, and Nathaniel Mendes-Lang. And he said that Bird and Knight will both score for Bristol City. That's Derby. That's definitely Derby. For me, I think we're going to win 2-0 away at Barrow, and I think Brown will get both goals. And then he'll go out on loan, and sections of the fan base will be like, why are we loaning out our best striker? Something like that. Bristol City, I have to agree, I'm terrified. I feel the same way as I did before the Middlesbrough game. So if we can get something out of that, that would be amazing. But I'm probably going to go for a 2-1 loss. I think we might lose it late, similar fashion to this weekend. I'm tempting fate. I did that last time and we got the win, so I think I'll do that again. Yeah. 10th, and we'll get a result. Arthur said 1-1 on YouTube as well. I think he might be a Leeds fan.
He is a Leeds fan, so move on.
Well, he said we're going to draw 1-1, so got to tip my hat to that one. I'm tipping my hat constantly tonight. Carl Watson says 2-1 to Bristol City as well. So yeah, agrees with me on that one. Well, thanks so much for joining us. If you have lasted this long, it's been great to get the fallout from the Watford game and also preview the Barrow and Bristol City game. Fingers crossed we're busy in the transfer market over the next week and we can have some more chats about people coming in. Jake, if you've got this far, happy birthday. I wasn't going to do it at the start. Yeah, happy birthday. Cal was going to sing happy birthday, but unfortunately we're running out of time on this particular episode.
Throat's a bit tickly.
But yeah, happy birthday. He's had the night out. Is he 26, 27?
26, I believe.
26 today.
Yeah.
You wouldn't look at him. He's getting to that prime age. Yeah. But yeah, thanks so much for listening. If you have enjoyed this, go and rate us 5-star wherever you listen to this particular podcast. If it's Spotify, YouTube. If you did want to get involved on X or YouTube, we're live every Sunday, so you can get in the chat like most of the community do. But until next time, it's goodbye from me.
Take care, audio viewers. Goodbye from me.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Keep the faith. The Rams are staying up. Goodbye from me.
We will see you next week.